Welcome to Talk the Prospect. I am Gayle Saunders here with Chris Mallee talking another prospect, high-profile cornerback in this year's draft. I know you thought we were probably going to talk about wide receivers. I know you probably thought we might be talking about Kyle Pitts or maybe a potential quarterback at number 6. But we're putting the magnifying glass on the cornerback position. And a guy who's been talked about as being either 1 or 2, depending on who you talk to, Caleb Farley, man, out of Virginia Tech. I feel like he's a raw prospect. He's got 1 year of solid, amazing production. I feel like he was one of the guys that set the tone for top prospects opting out. He was one of the first guys to opt out during this season with COVID. Here he is making his announcement with his family members. Obviously, people were, concerned during those times. His mother had passed away from cancer and wanted to be there with his family. He didn't want to lose another parent. He couldn't live with himself if that happened. He decided to opt out before it was a thing. So he was the first guy to opt out.
Yeah, well, Caleb Farley is exactly what NFL scouts are looking for in defensive backs in today's game. 4.3 speed, 6'2", 210. He actually clocked in a little over 23 miles per hour against Notre Dame in 2019. He's going to fly at his pro day, so people are really going to be keeping an eye on his 40 time. And also in 2019, he got targeted 50 times. There's only 18 completions, so the completion rate against him is only 36%. And then in the final 3 games of the season, he only let up 1 reception on 8 targets for 4 yards and had an interception in the final 3 games. He's a gamer. The thing about Farley that people talk about is his ceiling. People don't know how high it is. His floor is a little bit more shakier than Surtain, who's the other top-rated corner, because he's raw. I mean, he's a converted wide receiver, and it gives him some advantages, but also gives him some disadvantages. But Caleb Farley is absolutely in the discussion to be the first cornerback taken in this draft.
He did say he'd be running a 4.24 40. I imagine that. I mean, overall, his profile. He's one of those athletes. You talk about a prospect who, in high school he was a dual threat. He put up he scored 70 touchdowns. His destination was Virginia Tech. There was no other place he wanted to be at. He went there. Things didn't really work out his way. He tears an ACL. His mom passes away. They change his position. He's actually playing wide receiver. And then when he comes back, he plays corner and shows out. You're talking about that ability to just flip positions the way he did, whether it was from quarterback to wide receiver, then to cornerback. I think right off the bat, you think about Surtain from Alabama, who's number 1 in a lot of other people's hearts out there. You think about a guy who's like Surtain, a guy who's been there, done that, CB1 coming out of high school, starting for Alabama right away, going up against SEC's best. And then you have Caleb Farley, who is, he's that guy that I don't think he knows his abilities yet. There's those superheroes, they don't know their superpower yet, and they're learning how to use it. Maybe he could be one of those when he gets to the next level, but overall, would you say he's still kind of raw?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that Caleb Farley is definitely a raw prospect, but like you're talking about with the ceiling, that's what really intrigues NFL teams today. I mean, that's why a lot of cornerbacks, they'll be talked about in mid to late in the first round, and then all of a sudden there's a team that wants to get them in the top 12, top 10, because they know that you need cornerbacks, and guys like Caleb Farley, they're freaks. I mean, in today's game, you have all these wide receivers and even tight ends like the Darren Wallers and the Kelseys that line up outside, and you need a cornerback that's a little more athletic, has a little bit more size and speed, and that's what Caleb Farley is. he is a unicorn. He's like a Minka Fitzpatrick, but he's a little larger. I mean, at 6'2", he can cover tight end, and with the 4.3 speed, he can cover the best of the best. We're going to break down some film because you see moments when he tries to trust his athleticism a little too much. More often than not, it pays off because he'll maybe have like a little misstep that is just not muscle memory yet because he's really raw to the position, but he either makes up by getting a huge pass deflection. He actually led the ACC in 2019 with 16 pass deflections, or he'll even get an interception. He had 6 interceptions just in his first 2 seasons in the position. But yeah, Caleb Farley, definitely a raw prospect, but a ton of upside there.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it's when you're a Philadelphia Eagle fan and you talk about the cornerbacks that we have in the mix. I mean, look at this. I mean, if Darius Slay goes down with injury, obviously, you could potentially bring back a Jalen Mills to be your hybrid DB or whatever to add to that mix. That's still not like really doing anything for me. But look at that mix, and you're like, okay. We need a cornerback. And then when you look at this image full of the wide receivers, some of the wide receivers we're facing next year, and you think about what the Eagles have in the nest, Chris. I mean, look at this talent here.
Next year, we're running the gauntlet. And last year, there's a couple games when Darius Slay was down, and we definitely felt it. And now Darius Slay is a year older. It's great having a lockdown former All-Pro cornerback in Darius Slay. That being said, he's getting up there, and he's not going to be here that much longer. We don't know. The future is really uncertain with Darius Slay. So as much as you want the really flashy wide receiver pick in the first round, that being said, you really might want to go cornerback. We were talking before the show saying how many of the 2020 Pro Bowl cornerbacks this year were all first round picks. 6 out of the 8 starting cornerbacks were actually all first round picks. We're talking about like Stephon Gilmore, Jalen Ramsey, Jair Alexander, guys like that. And then a lot of the wide receivers in the Pro Bowl weren't first round picks. I mean, it really comes down to fit, scheme, and how the coaching goes on. That being said, the first 3 cornerbacks that are going to go in the first round are extremely talented, and they would be huge adds to our team. And that's why we have to have the discussion. We would love Jamar Chase. We would love Devonta Smith, Kyle Pitts, Jalen Waddle, but you really do have to investigate guys like Caleb Farley because you look at our depth chart and we're really thin at cornerback.
Yeah, and the other key factor is like, okay, so which way do you go? Do you go defense early? Do you actually move back and acquire another second round pick? If you move down in the draft, you think Farley, Surtain, Horn, those are the guys that are going to go in the first round. And then you think about the back end. Like, is it guys like, Melon Fonwu, Stokes, Newsome, guys like Aaron Robinson, Elijah Molden, that's the next tier of guys that you're going to start thinking about. Asante Samuel Jr., are you going to go cornerback early or maybe in the second round? But I think at the end of the day, we just showed you what the depth chart looks like. They're going to have to bring a guy in here, but obviously they'll probably bring somebody in off the street. But overall, just talking about the prospect and what he has to offer, we like to paint a picture of what we kind of feel like he is as a prospect. Going off some of your clips here, I'll let you start first. I don't know what Chris is going to show me. I have my clips. He has his clips. But I'll let you start.
Yeah, so Caleb Farley, we highlighted the athleticism, the size, the build, the speed. You see that in all 4 of the clips I'm going to show here. He's a converted wide receiver, so when people talk about the way he plays the game, he plays fast, he plays aggressive, and he runs the routes for the wide receivers because he knows the position and he's in the mind, and he played quarterback as well, so he understands the timing, ball placement, all of that. So look at this first clip, and it's a great interception on his part. He's Florida State right here. He's outside corner, completely reads it, makes an excellent hands catch right there. Huge game-changing play by Caleb Farley right there. The athleticism, it just jumps off. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get much more clean than this. right here, here's a great play against Miami. Farley's on the outside again. I mean, it's unbelievable. He just walls out the wide receiver, backpedals as fast as the wide receiver is running forward, makes a one-hand catch with his left hand for an interception. One part of the game that we're going to discuss, Kayla Farley as a run stopper, he's been he's been graded pretty down. That being said, it's not for lack of effort. I think it's really him just getting his feet and putting his feet and mind together at the position. He's aggressive. He comes up on third downs, fourth down stops when he needs to. And you're going to see it in the clip. That being said, he really does need to clean up some of the run game stopping. Here's him on the outside, getting off, coming up for the screen. Huge tackle right there. Here's one more. Here's the last play I want to show. This is Kayla Farley in off-man coverage. So his athleticism and speed allows him to play off-man, and it's a really dangerous mind game between him and the quarterback, because the quarterback's like, this guy's giving me like 8 to 10 yards. Like, maybe I can fit the ball in. But Kayla Farley's so athletic and he's so fast that more often than not, he wins these battles. He has to be careful with double moves. That being said, he really excels in this area. So here's Kayla Farley on the outside against North Carolina, and he gives the wide receiver about 9 yards of cushion, and then immediately breaks it up. And there's a ton of stuff like that on his tape, but the off-man coverage, it only works when you're this athletic, because you get sick of watching our defense the last couple of years on 3rd and like 3, and we're playing like 8 yards off. Caleb Farley is a guy that could play that far off and still make the play. He's a huge talent, and I'm really interested to see what clips you have, Gayle.
Well, it's interesting that because you made mention to the run the route for you, and under my clip, I have the exact words: "Run the route for you." You think about him being a quarterback, thinking about him being a wide receiver, and picking up on the intricacies of the game, and he probably can tell what the wideout's doing on this play here. You know, just reading the defender, dude. I mean, reading the wide receiver, just running the route for you. By then, he's like, I know what you're doing, and he has the speed. He has the speed to like close. That closing speed is nice. And on this play, like he just he shows that stickiness. He's right in the wide receiver's hip pocket, and you see that switch that he turns on. And once he hits that switch, he's there. Think about this play you like from Caleb. It's just like he flashes those hands, like he'll read the wide receiver's eyes or body movements, and then he'll flash the hands and break up the pass. I would like him to sometimes turn his head around some of those plays. I feel like as he gets, I feel like as he gets better as a player, he's gonna start doing that a little bit more. But I've seen him do that quite often. I think it's cool. I think it's still impressive that he's able to like flash those hands quick and knock the ball out just by reading the wide receiver. This other play down by the red zone, I'm envious of teams when they have a big corner out there. What, 6'2", 210? He's 210, right?
Yeah, he's gonna be 6'2", 210. Yeah.
Having a big corner down by the red zone, he's gonna eat down by the goal line, man. Like you have him on one end, you have Darius Slay on the other. That's a nice little tandem. And I think from what we've seen from his skill set, I think the sky's the limit once he knows exactly what he's doing out there. If I'm gonna go on some things I've seen out of his game, he gets he'll get caught peeking on the inside here. You'll see him turn around and look at the quarterback, and he's reading the wide out here. He takes a quick peek inside, and then he loses the wide receiver in space. And I found another clip. This is him against Claypool. Same exact thing. They got their splits in. He takes a peek inside, and Claypool is off and running. see him looking at the quarterback. So I saw that pop up a couple times, but every corner gets beat. But overall, man, I just feel like if we move, again, I would not feel comfortable taking Kayla Farley at 6.
Mm-hmm.
If we move back, either like you said, Sertain, Farley, Horn, I'll take them all. Like right now we need solid starters, and if you can get one of those guys, you're strengthening the defense. Hey, man, I'm okay with that.
I mean, we just went over all the wide receivers that we're going to play this year, and we're running the gauntlet. And we only really had Darius Slay as a certified cornerback 1. We don't really know who's going to be across from him, and we're going to need someone to take on the matchups, because most of the wide receivers that we showed earlier, it's not just one of them that you're playing in a game, it's 2. It's Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. It's Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. So it's going to be tough to match up against these guys if it's just Darius Slay. I mean, we saw Michael Jacquet get absolutely torched last year, and I would not like to have a repeat experience of that. I'm hoping that we spend up on a cornerback, whether it's in the first round or second round. I really think that it's important to get another cornerback to at least learn behind Slay while we do have a vet presence here and a guy that has done it for nearly a decade at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, overall, yeah, we showed you what we're working with. They are in dire need of some players at the position, and again, if we're talking about the value in drafting players, like where you want to draft them, and top end cornerbacks get paid. If you can get a solid talent at quarterback for a cheaper rate than having to pay out on the street. You saw how much they paid for Byron Maxwell, and you saw what we got back. This is where the value of getting a cornerback, especially moving back a little bit and still getting a solid cornerback. It's great. I mean, overall, Chris, you picked this prospect. What was the main reason you wanted to pick Kayla Farley?
So Caleb Farley is definitely one of the more interesting prospects to talk to scouts and just fans alike. People really are interested to see how his career pans out. He has such high upside, but his floor, people aren't sure exactly where the floor is either. Caleb Farley, he's a guy like we talked about. He converted from wide receiver to cornerback. He has more than ideal speed, size, and length to play the position. And the thing with him is he's a position in need for the Eagles, and he's a guy that I don't think that he's just getting all this hype now. I think he's an all pro, all ACC guy. He has shown it on film, and I really think that sky's the limit for him because he's shown that he has the work ethic and the heart to recover from things happening in his life on and off the field, and he stepped up to the challenge. So I'm really interested to see how his NFL career pans out, and it wouldn't be bad to see him in Midnight Green either, especially the match up against some of these wide receivers with Darius Slay next year.
So, closing thoughts on Caleb Farley. I just think he's a tremendous athlete at the end of the day. I feel like the closing speed is something to look at. If he even runs anything close to a 4.24, people are going to be very excited. I feel like he's, when they say raw prospect or a project, I wouldn't say exactly a project, but he's a guy that he's learning as he goes right now. Like, he's only got 1 year of solid production. You talk about the missed tackles. I think he missed 20% of his tackles. I think he can brush up there, but he's a corner at the end of the day. I need him to cover. He showed, the closing speed is great. Long corner. That's another plus in this game. You're talking about a guy with his size and has sweet feet like a wide receiver. That shows up on tape. So overall, talking to prospect Kayla Farley, I'm interested. If we move back, I'm interested. Overall, I like the prospect. Chris?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm not exactly comfortable taking him at 6, just because 6 is where you can definitely get a team to trade up for a quarterback or maybe another premier player, maybe a tackle or something like that. I think that the sweet spot for Farley is probably like 9 through 12. And that being said, even if you do miss out on Farley, Surtain or Horn will certainly be there. One of the three will be there if you do move back. The reason why Eagles fans are a little iffy about moving back is they don't really trust Howie Roseman to hit on the compensation that we would be getting in return. But the compensation on paper would be tremendous. I mean, you'd have more second-round picks, third-round picks, and a young team that has over 20 free agents and cap space issues. Those picks would be like tremendous if you do hit on them. So that's the reasoning for a possible trade back and getting a blue chip player like Caleb Farley.
There you go. One, you get a corner. Two, you get extra picks for moving back. You know, it's a win. It's a win-win for me. But that's all for me and Chris Mallee. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, fly, Eagles, fly.